Yeah, so a lot of these questions will be the same and a lot of ditto answers, but appreciate you guys being here and showing up. This is where the rubber meets the road, and it is. I wish we had more people here to hear what the candidates have to say and you be informed as voters. And I am Travis Forrester. I love District 17. District 17 has poured a ton of itself into me and my family and my kids, and I want to do the same in return. Coached football here at the high school, Blue Ridge, for a long time. Was the president of the Youth Association here. My wife's been involved with PTA. My kids have come through the school system, and so born and raised here in District 17. Had a short hiatus when my folks split, and I had to live with my mom for a few years, and then another short hiatus when I went to work for the Secret Service down in Miami. But I always come back. When my wife and I got married and decided to have kids, this is where we set up roots. I want to make sure that we try to place ourselves in the best way possible, and I'm going to answer these questions fairly quickly, and then I want to address the elephant in the room. All right, so what is my position on allowing data centers to be built in Greenville County? As of right now, that's a starch no. I think I really hope I don't get hammered with this, but I really think data centers are a lot like the COVID vaccine. You know, everybody was all about them because AI is driving a lot of jobs and a lot of things that we're doing right now, but we don't know enough information about them. I think we haven't done enough studies. We don't know what they bring to the table. I think they're really harmful for the environment, and we don't want them up here taking our resources that our farmers need. We don't want them up here taking resources for food security, and that's a starch no for me. And now we're finding out on the flip side, like the COVID vaccine, it may not be as great as we thought it was. So starch no on that. What is my position regarding new residential development in District 17 and other areas of Greenville County and or zoning? I think we need to halt growth. I think we got bigger problems. We got infrastructure problems. We got way of life problems. We got more problems to deal with than having to worry about cookie cutter developments coming into 17 and making the problems worse. Okay, I'll get back to that in a minute. The impact zoning. Zoning is a very slippery slope. Very slippery slope. Because when you get into zoning, unless you guys come to council and you request specific land areas to be zoned, do we want our generational inheritance? Do we want our land that's been given to us from grandpa, great grandpa, and us that we want to pass down to our kids? Do we want government dictating and telling us what we can and can't do with that land? So it's a very slippery slope. I think zoning can be used in certain areas to help prevent overgrowth, but you got to be really careful when you get into that, because if I own 500 acres and I want to pass it down to my kids, I'm not so sure that I want somebody telling me or my kids what they can and can't do with it. Do I support a new sales tax and or impact fees? Sales tax, no. I'm married. I've told my wife things and had to go back and tell her I was wrong and tell her I was sorry. Happens probably daily. Impact fees, when I first got my feet wet and wanted to run for office, I was like, we need to make it as hard as we possibly can on developers trying to build land. And then the more research I've done and more ideas I got to talking to people, constituents, and people who are buying houses and things of that sort, I realized that Mr. Ellers is exactly right. It doesn't matter what we try to charge developers or people that are building houses, they're going to pass it on to the consumer. And I was a direct witness of that. I went to my niece's graduation party at my father-in-law's house. He lives off of Innery Road. They've built 2 houses over there on Innery Road right next door to him. And so he was talking directly to the owners of those houses. One was the daughter of the owner of the company who built the houses. And they bought that property, half an acre, for $90,000. So he asked, he was like, how do you afford to build a house or pay $90,000 and then build the houses and then afford it? He's like, we just pass it on to the buyer. Just pass it on to the buyer. So no, not in favor of impact fees. We need to find other options and avenues to slow growth and make it difficult for builders to come in and build cookie cutter developments and make our way of life harder up here. Do you support increased pay for county law enforcement, and how should that be funded? I absolutely do. I do. I've lived that life. I've lived that life. I've had, as a deputy starting out, I've had to do the same thing that our candidate for superintendent. I've had to put stuff back on the shelf and I had a bachelor's degree. I had a 5%, 10% increase on my starting pay. $14.62 an hour wasn't cutting it. I found myself working 7 days a week, multiple hours a day to make ends meet just to pay the bills. So yes, I support law enforcement. I support teacher increased pay. I support civil service altogether, EMS, fire. That is the backbone of our community. They protect us. Teachers drive our next generation. They're responsible for our next generation. So yes, I absolutely do support an increase for law enforcement pay. How should that be funded? I do feel like we are a wasteful spending when it comes to county. There's too many line items in our budget that we can go to and look where we spend, and it's extremely wasteful, that we could cut and support our law enforcement. So we need to look at what we're spending, why is it being spent on wasteful things that we don't need, and that's where we need to look to spend for law enforcement pay. And do I support voters being able to elect local judges and magistrates? I do want people in this audience to be able to have a hand in that. Why? Because again, I live that life. It is extremely disheartening when you lock up somebody that you put your life on the line for, and you walk into court and they either get a slap on the wrist or get set free because of deals, because of exactly what Mr. Burns said, because that person was put in that position by the guy they're standing in front of. That's disheartening. I put my life on the line to protect the people of this county, to walk in there and watch this guy get set free, and then I turn around and I lock him up 3 weeks later for the same thing. No, there needs to be more accountability. I have 9 minutes left. Talking about accountability, transparency, and integrity. That's the 3 pillars that I've tried to run my campaign on. I've run clean. I hadn't been in banter with folks. I haven't been on pages trying to discredit any candidates up here. I've tried to stay in my lane and do the best that I know how to do. Has the GGAR endorsed me? Yes, they have. But let me explain something to you. I didn't solicit any kind of endorsement from them. They sent me an email. They said they wanted to educate their voters, just like other constituents that I've met with in this district, just like other groups I've met with, just like other flyers that I have filled out and sent in. They said they want to educate their voters. Do I mind meeting with them? I said, absolutely not. And that's what I did. And I gave them the exact same answers I'm giving you tonight. I gave them the exact answers I gave you. We have a growth problem in District 17. We need to control that growth problem. We need to focus on infrastructure. We need to focus on way of life. We need to focus on the constituents of 17. That's exactly what I told them. And they chose to endorse me. I didn't go seeking the sheriff's endorsement. The sheriff came and said, do you mind if I endorse you? Absolutely not. Do I support development and growth? No, I do not. Regardless of who's endorsing me, regardless of who's putting mailers in your mailbox, regardless of who's sending you text messages, I'm glad this is on YouTube so people can go watch it. I want to serve you, and I want to make sure that the way of life and our nostalgia and our rural district up here that everybody loves stays the way it is. I hope that's clear enough. When rubber meets the road on June the 9th, you have to make a decision on who you feel like is going to go do the best job for you. You got to make the decision on who you feel like is going to go down there and have a backbone and stand up and stand firm for what you guys believe in. Okay? No matter who gets elected on the back row, no matter what kind of smear campaigns, what kind of Facebook banter's been going on, okay, I don't have time for that. What I have time for is doing what's best for 17. But what you have to understand is no matter who gets elected, we have to unify as one. The only way that we're going to beat development, the only way we're going to keep 1717, the only way we're going to have investment in our kids and our teachers and our law enforcement is to unify as one. Weaponizing politics and weaponizing candidates against one another is a way to not do that. That's division. If you want to see 17 fail and you want to see 17 become Woodruff Road, keep weaponizing politics and keep division up. We got to unify, guys. We have to unify as one to make sure this nonsense stops. Thank you.